Hi everyone, welcome to the School Improvement Institute video for steering team members. The focus of this video is to get you ready for your vision discussion. So my name is Sue Reynolds and I'm president of the American Student Achievement Institute. And I think I'll apologize in the beginning. I'm just getting over a little cold, so I might cough a little bit, and if I do, I beg your understanding. So okay, here we go. So today's topics, we're going to review real quickly the SI2 organizational structure, the rationale, and then our improvement process. And then today we're going to talk about visioning. This is a really key part of our whole process. You may know that our whole process is called vision to action. And the visioning part is really important because we don't want your school improvement initiative to start because of a state mandate or because there's pressure from somewhere else. We really want your school improvement to come from the heart. And this visioning activity will kind of do that. It will also develop a common direction for your entire steering team. So if you're familiar with Malcolm Baldrige and how Malcolm Baldrige in that improvement process, they like to get all of the arrows going in the same direction. So an improvement process a lot of folks in the business community use. This is really working to get all of our arrows in the same direction. So, okay, so a quick review. Organizational structure. On your steering team, we have a variety of members, and then also the tasks of the steering team have been to collect data. You've done a really good job at that, to hold discussions, and then to create products that will become part of your school improvement plan. So the process, we started out by getting ready, and I just noticed the months on these are incorrect. Sorry about that. I will change that before we put it into the manual in the online system. But we're starting out by getting ready, and then we looked at doing an intro to what is SI2 and kind of just an overview of the whole thing. And now we're getting ready to start on that first product vision, or that first step vision. So right now we have several products. You have a steering team roster. You've decided how you're going to use your school improvement plan. You've delegated tasks to your different point people on your steering team. You've collected your achievement data, and you've been really busy, and Tina's been telling me you've been doing a great job on doing the student surveys. So that's been going really well. And now we're ready for this vision step. Then after visioning, after today, we'll look at what are your goals, and in those goals, we'll set them actually so that they're a step between the current state and your vision and your dream. So that's, again, really important that we have that vision, because that helps us set the direction for your goals. And then we'll come back and look at the root causes, the things that are getting in the way of your goals. And then once we know what the root causes are, we'll look at what interventions do you need to put in place in your school and your community to address the things that are getting in the way of achievement and reaching your goals. And then finally, once we know what those interventions are, then we'll prepare to put those interventions into place, especially with professional development. We don't think it's fair to ask teachers to do something differently in their classrooms unless we've really prepared them to do it well. So we'll look at that in preparation, as well as developing an annual calendar and getting any resources that you may need for implementation. So yeah, so that's kind of the process in a nutshell. And then before we get into visioning today, we really want to have a couple of discussions to help you think a little bit out of the box in terms of how lofty academic rigor needs to be. We use in education, we use the term academic rigor a lot, but it's really a nebulous term. We have a hard time defining what that means. So part of this visioning is really looking at, for your school, what does academic rigor mean? What level of achievement does it mean, and which kids do we expect to reach that academic rigor? As we have worked with school improvement for, 20 years now, almost 20 years, One of the things that we've come to learn is that the biggest thing your school can do to raise achievement is to change the expectations that you have for kids. And that's what this visioning activity is all about, is to really look at what are our expectations for kids, and what are our expectations for adult practices as well, so that we can help kids reach those expectations. So visioning is all about expectations. So the first question we want to examine before we actually get into the active visioning is, why are we even doing this? Why raise student achievement? So the main thing is because we care about kids. And we know that when we raise student achievement, kids are the beneficiaries. So here's how we benefit kids by doing our work to raise student achievement. One is that the more education a student has, the more income they're going to have over a lifetime. We know that the difference in income between a student with just a high school diploma and a student with a bachelor's degree is really significant. And if we take that one step further, the income expectation for a high school dropout, or a middle school dropout, or someone who's dropped out and not gotten that high school diploma, the difference in lifetime income for that student and someone with a bachelor's degree is huge. So if we really care about kids and we care about their standard of living and we want to open doors for them, we really need to make sure that our kindergartners, our third graders, eighth graders, ninth graders, that everybody's doing what they need to do in order to get to life education after 12th grade. And again, please note, we're not talking just four-year college. We're talking a variety of different ways to continue an education after high school. It could be four-year college, two-year college, career college, apprenticeship programs, or career development in the military. So lots of different ways to continue education after high school. But the thing is, we know that if we can prepare kids to continue their education after high school, we're helping them, we're changing their standard of living, and that we're changing different options that they have for their futures. Okay, we also know that when students have more education, the unemployment rate goes down. So if we care about our kids being employed in the future, we know that the more education we can get them, the more likely it is that they'll be employed. It's more likely also that they will have an employer-provided retirement plan with the more education that they have. So again, if we love and care about our kids, I mean, who wouldn't want our kids to have a retirement plan? Of course. So we've got to get them ready to continue their education after high school. We also know that they're more likely to have employer-provided health insurance if they have more education. So again, you know, that's just more rationale for doing what we have to do in first grade and in seventh grade, you know, to make sure that the kids are on this pathway to continue their education after high school. We know that kids with more education are less likely to be involved in public assistance programs. We know that they're less likely to smoke if they have more education. They're more likely to exercise with more education. They're less likely to be obese with more education. And as parents, those kids will be more likely to participate in activities with their family, with their children. So again, lots of different impacts. People with more education are more likely to volunteer in our communities, and they're more likely to vote. So, excuse me. So lots of reasons, if we care about kids, that we want them to be ready to continue their education after high school. Excuse me. The other thing with raising student achievement is that it's really good for your community's economic development. I suspect that when you have this discussion with your full steering team, that the representative on your steering team of your business community, of your Economic Development Council or your Chamber of Commerce, that they will really chime in on this part. This is kind of interesting. This is very recent research, just a couple of months ago, from Pew Research Center, that shows that employment growth is growing more rapidly in occupations that require higher social and analytical skills. So we really have a growing number of jobs that require high skills. But the problem is that while our jobs are requiring a higher level of skills, our workforce doesn't have those skills. This is also pretty recent, just a couple months old. There are millions of jobs begging now that, oops, sorry about that. Let me go back a slide. There are millions of jobs begging right now in what has got to be one of the biggest mismatches between skills and the lack of qualified help available in the nation's history. If you'd like to see if that's true in your county, talk to the manufacturers in your county and ask them, do you have enough skilled employees, skilled applicants for jobs to meet the job openings that you have? We hear in almost every county, when we're in those counties talking with manufacturers, that they have jobs that are going unfilled because they can't find skilled workers in their community to take those jobs. And at the same time, those are the same counties that have a high unemployment rate, but they can't employ those folks because those folks don't have the skill sets that they need. So lots of high-skilled jobs open, but not the workforce that can fill those jobs. And so again, if we're wanting to help kids, we're really needing to help them develop that skill set so they can step right into those skilled positions in your community. That helps the kids and it helps your workforce. So another thing to look at that really backs up that we in the United States and maybe in your community don't have the level of skilled workers that we need to fill those skilled jobs is to look at the most recent TIMSS assessment. TIMSS is a test that's given internationally. It's given every 4 years, and there's about 50 countries that participate in that test, including the United States. The most recent test was in 2015, and here's how we did. In the math assessment, there were 49 participants in the test, and Singapore, Hong Kong, Korea placed 1, 2, and 3. We were 11th. So again, if you're the CEO and you're looking for some high-skilled workers, you're going to be looking at these other countries. You're not going to be looking in the United States as much. And if you did look in the United States, it's likely to be that you can't find them. And so then we're bringing in people from other countries. And in recent news, if you've been following the news, there's a lot of concern about bringing in high-skilled workers to hold our jobs in our country. We think it would be great to have those high-skilled workers right in our country. So, another reason for really paying attention to looking at the amount of rigor that you're teaching in your schools. In 8th grade, we ranked 9th. In 12th grade, this looks good because, oh gosh, we were 3rd, but there are only 9 countries right now. This is a newer assessment. There's only 9 countries that participated, so we were barely into the top 1/3 of all the different countries that participated in that assessment. So there's math. Here's science. So in science, this was a kind of a general science assessment for 4th grade and 9th grade. We did a little better. We were 8th. But again, Singapore, Japan, Korea, China, I mean, these are countries that, are producing where the schools are producing a much more skilled workforce than we are. And again, I'm not saying that that the playing field is equal. In the United States, yes, we have to educate every student. Not have to. We choose to because of how we care about our citizens. We choose to educate every student. But the fact is, we still need to have that educated workforce so that our business and industries have people to hire and so that our students can jump into those positions. So, and then in the 12th grade assessment, it was a physics assessment, and did a little better on this one too. So we were 2nd out of the 9 countries that took that assessment. So again, if we care about kids, if we care about our community's economic development, if we care about the standard of living in our community, these are things we really need to, we think, pay attention to. Okay, another thought, and personally this is something that moves me, is looking at raising student achievement for social justice. This is data that looks at post-secondary college enrollment by income level and then by race. And if we look at income level, we see that lower income students are less likely to enroll in college. And to me, that's something personally that bothers me. And so that's, one of the things that makes me want to do this work to raise student achievement across our state and our country, is because I want to see that gap close. That bothers me. So, that may be something that motivates you as well. And if not, that's fine too, but that for some people, this is the motivation. And then same thing with race. When we look at African American enrollment in college versus white, again, we have a lower percentage of African American students enroll. And again, that's something personally that makes me want to do this work and to figure out, okay, what kind of rigor do we need, and let's get that for every kid. It just fires me up. Okay, so the question is then, what is academic rigor? So I'm going to answer that question 3 ways, and then this also will need to be a discussion that you have in your school. What is academic rigor, and who do we hold dreams for? Is it all kids that are going to get to that rigor level, or just some? So, okay, so here's one way to look at academic rigor. This was a study that I really liked that the U.S. Department of Education put out in 2013, and it's called the Employability Skills Framework. They were looking at how does one prepare then for a high-skilled job, and they put together a big think tank of business and industry and educators, and they kind of talked about this. And they decided that there were that we needed we needed to look at rigor in 3 areas. The first one was looking at applied knowledge. So looking at reading, excuse me, reading skills, writing, math, science. And then do our kids have the ability to apply that knowledge to problem solving, to apply that to problem solving within a discipline and also between disciplines? And then looking at critical skills, in our schools, are we teaching kids how to analyze, reason, problem solve, plan, organize, make decisions? That's applied knowledge where we're taking those skills, not only the content, but also those skills, and we can solve problems, real-world problems with that knowledge and those skills. Then the middle part is kids need to be able to have effective relationships, interpersonal skills, and then also their personal qualities. Are they responsible, self-disciplined, flexible? Do they have integrity? In your school counseling curriculum, these are skills that counselors work with kids, as well as your classroom teachers, of course. And then workplace skills. Do we have resources? Are your kids learning how to manage resources, how to use information, how to communicate, systems thinking, technology? So in terms of preparing, having the skill set that your kids need to take those high-skilled positions that are open in your community, these are the skills they need. Then another way to look at this question is, what do kids need to get into post-secondary? So to get into excuse me, a 4-year college, 2-year college apprenticeship program. A couple of years ago, we did a lot of work with the Indiana Building Trades Committee at the state level. We talked a lot about apprenticeship programs with them. And we came to understand that the academic skills and knowledge that kids need to get into a 4-year college are the same skill sets that kids need to get into an apprenticeship program and do well in it, career college, 2-year college. So while sometimes these courses are described as college prep courses, in our thinking, these are just success prep courses that everybody needs these, not just the kids that are going to 4-year colleges. And in some ways, the academic preparation for kids going to apprenticeship programs might be even more rigorous, because those kids not only need to know the content of algebra and trig and those high-level math courses, but they also have to be able to apply it, not just to do a worksheet or a quiz, but to apply that in their apprenticeship program to their trade. So, so our message here is just really that high academic preparation is for all kids, we believe, and specifically these are the courses in high school that we think are important, and therefore in grades K-8, we'd be wanting to prepare kids to just, hit the ground running and to do really well in these courses. So 4 years of math, including math in the senior year, 4 years of English, science, 4 years of social studies, world languages, career and tech prep. So again, where your best academic students are also doing a 4-year sequence in engineering or a 4-year sequence in information tech. We just think that's really important to combine the academic preparation with the career and tech ed preparation. And if you're looking at the different types of Indiana diplomas, there's one of the honors diplomas that really does that well. And I can tell you for my own children went through a very strong academic curriculum, but then we had them both do a career and tech ed prep so that they get the application based to the content that they were learning. So just things to think about. Post-secondary ed in high school we think is really important for kids. So that a lot of kids take advanced placement, dual credit, international baccalaureate, and then of course PE, health and fine arts. Just going back to that post-secondary ed in high school, in another initiative that we did, we worked in some very low-income urban high schools to increase the percentage of kids succeeding in AP classes. It's amazing with a little bit of extra help how many kids can succeed in AP in dual credit, in international baccalaureate. So you might kind of think about out of the box there too. Should we be tapping more of our kids into taking AP and dual credit than we currently are doing? Have we set that bar too low? Okay. And then finally, I do want to reference the Indiana Department of Education because they also have defined how does one prepare for career and post-secondary ed. So the Indiana Department of Education, along with the Indiana State Board of Education, has produced for schools the Indiana standards and assessments, and then the Indiana diploma requirements. And those were designed with a lot of input to make sure that kids are ready for careers and ready for post-secondary. So a lot of times I think, as educators we think, oh, those are just rules we have to follow. But remember that why those rules were developed and who developed them. It was a group of people that were knowledgeable and cared about career and post-secondary ed. So just things to think about. Okay, so next part I would like to look at is, okay, so let's say you have rigor in your school as being something that's really, high and lofty, and you understand it's for every kid. It's not just for, some kids that get that rigor, but we're going to do whatever it takes, no excuses, to make sure that every single student going through our school comes out of our school ready for rigor at the next level. So what practices in your school would you need to put in place? And again, on that one, we're thinking as we do this vision, we want you to be able to envision, high rigor for all kids if that's where you want to go. But the other thing is we also want you to envision what best practices are. We have to be able to visualize ourselves providing these best practices before it's ever going to happen. So we did a study, or we've produced a report called the ASA Elements of High Achieving Schools. And it's based on a study that we did of our schools over the past 20 years who had the biggest gains in student achievement. And we started looking at what did those schools do in common? What did they have in common? What interventions in common did they have that maybe got them the results that they were trying to get? And then we also did a literature review to look at, okay, when schools are high achieving, what are the kinds of things that they do? What kind of things are happening inside the classroom? What's happening in the principal's office? What's happening in the counselor's office? What's happening in the hallways? How are parents involved? What's the community doing? So we really tried to paint a picture of best practices in high achieving schools. Not to say to you, this is the way your school should be, but just to give you an idea from our experience and our research, what kind of things high achieving schools are doing. So I'm not going to go over all of these, but one of the things we'd like you to do before you have the visioning discussion with your council is to just make sure that everybody's read this document. We tried as much as possible, because we know how busy you are, to put things in bulleted lists, so it could be a quick read, and there's just there's these 7 elements, And then we've kind of given you ideas like what high achieving schools would do in each of these areas. So these elements, I do want to just kind of name them though. So high expectations, I mentioned that one already. There's curriculum rigor, that we've just been talking about that. There's engaging instruction. We're not just teaching the kids who learn best by lecture, but we're also teaching the kids that, you know, are auditory learners and tactile learners. We're engaging their interest areas, so we're applying the instructions to things that interest in, you know, differentiated instruction. So, you know, we're going after kids. Frequent classroom assessments, that's another one. In that discussion, you'll see we talk about assessing kids on a frequent basis so we know which kids are falling behind, and then we can move right on to the next element, which is providing those kids extra help. So frequent classroom assessments, providing them extra help, providing student good guidance. That's really important because that's how kids get motivated to work hard at school. If they can see, you know, oh, I'd like to be a drafts person who does drafting, and I know that this is the math that they're going to need, and I really like that thought of me doing that in my future. Now I know why I have to engage in that rigorous course and do well in it. So student guidance, the connection between that students can have between their future and the work that they're doing right now, that is really motivating to kids. So we think that student guidance part is really important. And then finally, the learning environment. In that part of the document, we talk about the things that surround what's happening with learning. So discipline, classroom discipline, parent involvement, community involvement, in looking at really best practices in those areas as well. So, so we invite you before you do the visioning so that you can really be thinking out of the box when you're painting this picture of the ideal, you know, school and the ideal kids. We'd like you to kind of do a little bit of research. Another thing is that, you know, I know a lot of you are probably members of the ISTA, the Teachers Association, the Principals Association. We are big advocates of being involved in your professional associations, and you can turn to them too to see, you know, what painting have they painted of high achievement and what a high achieving school would look like. So, you know, really look around and think about this before you get into the visioning. Okay, so now when you're ready, when you think, okay, we've really kind of explored, you know, what the world might look like if all of our dreams came true, then we're ready to vision. So let's define vision. This is a very confused term. And if it gets confused, it really throws this activity off. So a vision is a very lofty and bold statement of the way our school will be if all of our dreams for kids come true. So in other words, I really want to emphasize that word lofty and bold. Your vision is pie in the sky. You know, it's just closing your eyes and thinking, if all of our dreams came true, what would our school look like and what would our kids look like? There's nothing based in reality in your vision. You have to be able to just, you know, to just dream. If you can think about, you know, probably the first person that climbed Mount Everest, that probably seemed like a crazy idea, but you had to have that dream first before, you know, before you can take a step toward that dream. When we started doing the SI2 Institute, the idea of all kids in the state doing algebra was crazy. I mean, we would throw out that idea and people would just look at us like, are you kidding? And look where we are now, where almost every student is mastering algebra. So you got to dream it first, and then we can start moving towards it. Now, let's talk about the difference between a vision and a mission. In SI2, we are not going to ask you to do a mission statement. We want to focus on the vision. So, but I do want you to understand the difference between the two. So this vision is this very detailed description of the ideal world. It's lofty and it's bold. A mission is just a brief statement that says that it's the aim of the school to move toward your vision. So I like to think of the mission as like a cheerleader chant. You know, it's the mission of our school to, and then there's like, you know, one or two sentences after that that we all can hold on to. But this vision is a painting. There's all the little details are in there. What's happening in the media center? What's happening in the counselor's office? What do the hallways look like? What's, what are the students doing when they sit in that desk? What's going through their heads? Are they ready to work? We're painting that very detailed vision. Okay. Then the other thing that often gets confused, and this was where you can really kind of go wrong with this task, is the difference between a vision and a goal. So again, the vision is detailed, it's lofty, pie in the sky, it's a dream, it's just this, man, if I had a magic wand, this is the painting I would paint. A goal, on the other hand, is a realistic step, and actually it's a step that falls between the current state and your dream and the vision. A goal is reachable within a certain time frame. So if our vision is that 100% of the kids are going to get a perfect score on the SAT, I'm going way lofty, then and we know that right now 0.111 or 0.0002% of the kids are doing that, then we might want to raise that to 0.003. So it's a realistic step between where you currently are and this dream, and it's achievable within a specific time frame. So 2 months from now, we're going to talk about goals. But right now, we just want to talk about your dreams. That'll give us direction, gives us energy. It helps us understand why we're even doing this. That it's because we have dreams for kids in our hearts, and we want to help kids. So, okay. So, visioning requires us to think out of the box. That's why we just talked about raising expectations. And then the question is, what could be in our wildest dreams? In your wildest dreams, what would you picture for all kids? Not some kids, but for all kids. So very practical reasons for visioning. One time we were doing this activity, and someone came up to me afterwards. They said, "Sue, this is like kumbaya. Why are we even doing this? These dreams are never going to come true, and we're just saying all these nice things." And I had to explain there's some real practical reasons. So it raises expectations. We had to dream that all kids would succeed in algebra before that ever was going to happen. It will give your entire steering team, and later when you work with your council next year, it'll give everybody a common purpose, common direction. It creates energy for change. I can't even talk about visioning without getting fired up, because it reminds me of, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing this, is because I love kids. It focuses on the students. That's really important. The visioning will always be what's best for kids. It takes the focus off the adults, and it focuses on the future. So it causes you to never point fingers at people for what happened in the past. We're just talking about, here's our dream for the future, and what can each person do to get us closer to that shared dream that we have. And so, it's positive energy for doing something to help kids in the future, instead of looking at the adults and pointing fingers at people for things that have happened in the past. We don't care about the past. We just care about the future, and let's get kids there. And then also your vision will become the foundation for your decision making. So later, after we do this vision step, every step of the way, the question is going to be, is this taking us closer to our vision? If so, it's a keeper. But if not, or not very much, why are we spending our time and energy on it? So later it will become like the litmus test for, what you spend your time and energy on. Okay, a couple of quotes here. Power vision, I like this one. Vision without action is but a dream. So you got to put action to your vision. But action without vision just passes the time. That's often what we see in schools, where schools are headed in this direction, and that direction, and this direction. The vision brings you all headed in one direction. And when you have those two things together, vision and action, that's what changes the world. That's why our process is called vision to action. It starts with a dream, we put action to it, and we change life for kids. Okay, so here's the discussion prompt. There's 4 questions we want to look at, and this is where I'd like to, hopefully you'll type in and we'll have a little bit of chat about some of these. So the first thing is here's some just some kind of thoughts for having a successful brainstorm. One, we're going to avoid any discussions in our brainstorm. So when you're having this with your steering team, we're not talking about people's ideas. We're just getting a lot of ideas out there. So the ideas should come quick and fast, and it's just bang, 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 bang. There's no right or wrong. So we're just getting as many ideas out as we can. The other thing is that we'd like you, as people share their ideas, even if you're a steering team, you're just a small steering team, we'd like you to record every response. So record it as a bulleted list. You could do that on a flip chart, on the blackboard, on an LCD projector, but somehow so that everybody can see what's being recorded. And then also, whoever is doing the recording, as much as possible, try to use people's exact words so that you're not writing down words through your interpretation of what that person said, but you're actually writing down that person's words. That's really important. One, we don't want there to be interpretation, but two, it also tells that person who spoke that you heard them. Okay, so no discussions, lots of ideas, tossing everything out. We're keeping everything really fast and quick, and we're going to record everybody's ideas. Okay, so here's discussion one, and then we're going to try to do this as a chat. So in your heart of hearts, so you personally, in your heart of hearts, what do all students in your school deserve? We call these core convictions. So here's some examples. In your school, what do all kids deserve? Do they deserve a rigorous curriculum to be taught in the way that they learn best? Do they deserve teachers who enjoy teaching? Do they deserve extra help? Do they deserve love? What do they deserve? So, and then in terms of broadening your thinking, if you go back to those elements of high achieving schools, what do they deserve in terms of your expectations of them? What do all kids deserve in terms of your expectations? What do all kids deserve in terms of curriculum rigor, engaging instruction, in terms of the assessments that you give them? What do all kids deserve in terms of their classroom assessments? What do all kids deserve in terms of the extra help that you provide, the guidance that you give them, the environment that you put them in? So kind of be thinking about that. I'm going to count to 30 in my head. And during that time, on a piece of scratch paper, will you just kind of start with that prompt, what do all kids deserve, and write down a couple of ideas. Okay, I'm going to count very slowly to 30 while you're doing that. Okay, that was 30. Okay, let's try this. I'm excited. So in the chat box, the prompt is, I'm going to type this in, all kids deserve, and I'm sending this to everybody, and let's see what you think. So jump in here, please. All kids deserve what? Now, don't sit back and figure everybody else is going to do this. One, I want to see if the technology works, but I'm really, I'm curious to see what you think. So all kids deserve. Okay, Tina jumped in. Thank you, Tina. All kids deserve a chance to succeed. Okay, somebody else, please. I like that one, Tina. Not that I'm passing judgment. All kids deserve a chance to succeed. Okay, I could sit here forever, but I won't. So the next time we do one of these, I really would appreciate it if we could have a little bit of a discussion here. One
Sue,
thing, yes.
they actually did come through. We have 23.
No way!
They're going,
Yay!
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
they're going
great.
in through the questions. So if you don't care, I'm just going to read these.
Yeah, and well, thank you. That helps me with the technology as well. Where are you seeing that, Tina?
When you click on dashboard and you see where it lists out where you can see how many questions or how many hands are raised, I noticed all of a sudden it just took off like a shot. And all of a sudden it showed 22 questions and now there's 23. When I open that number 23 that's underscored, it opens that up with some really good answers.
Cool. But so they can't see it, just you and I, and I can't see it because I don't know where you are, but just you. So could somebody just type in to us, can everybody, or maybe Tina, you can tell me, can everybody see these responses or just
Uh,
me?
Now let me see if I can send. I'm going to.
And
I can only show the answered questions. It
okay.
didn't end up on the chat for some reason.
Okay, I don't know either. Well, here, did they type into the questions? Oh, I see, because I use the
See it?
chat and we cannot see everybody's responses. Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, we'll figure this out because I think this is really cool, and I would love to be able to have these discussions like this. So yeah, do you just want to go ahead and read some of these, Tina? Because I'd love for everybody
Sure,
to hear what
because
kind of.
we're going up to 27, so really nice ones.
Cool.
We have motivation,
Okay, so
safe environment,
all kids deserve motivation, safe environment.
a chance,
Cool.
someone who cares, fairness in treatment, adults who are smiling.
I love that one. All
Yeah,
kids
that's great.
deserve adults who are smiling. That's next time I'm in a school, I'm just going to smile the whole time. Love it.
Right, it's important. Solid curriculum, consistency, my middle name, uh, self-confidence, compassion, a sense of security, and an adult who is, let me see, unreasonably in love with them. That's cool. Um, and all students deserve a rigorous, engaging instruction. Several said, of course, to feel safe, an enthusiastic staff, to understand why they're here, the importance of education,
Yeah, cool.
a second chance to do better,
Good.
an adult confidant and unbiased voice of reason, and a role model.
Wonderful.
Really nice.
Yeah, very nice. So a couple things. So those, when you do this discussion with your steering team, that's kind of the thing that you get. And I don't know if you felt like that like I'm feeling when you hear Tina read all those things. But it just gets me fired up, to think, yeah, really kids do that. And when need those things, and when you're having this discussion with your steering team, you'll be sitting there, and all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, here's another people sitting around me that are like-minded, that we all think that kids need these things. So let's like join forces and make sure that they get them. The other thing is that as I listened to a couple of them, oh my gosh, I could see some real implications for schools. The one that really kind of made me think a lot was the one on second chance, because if all kids deserve a second chance in terms of academics, that would really, to me, point to, so let's do frequent assessments. Let's figure out the kids who don't get it. Let's reteach so that they have their second chance, and then assess again. So somebody mentioned, a rigorous curriculum for all kids, and if we really believe that, then we have to go after those kids. If that's what's in our hearts, we cannot let kids fail. So again, the whole purpose of this, I mean, there's a lot of different purposes, but the really thinking about working from the heart is big in what we're doing with SI2. Now, I have one little word of caution though, and this happens all the time. I'm going to take this slide that we're looking at right now and move it right behind this question. I'll put it in there twice, and then we'll put it up where you can download it, because one of the things I want you to notice is that probably 90% of your responses had to do with caring and feeling, and the kids feel valued, and having cheerful teachers, and those things are really important. But we also want to look at, what do kids deserve in terms of our expectations, the rigor that we give them, the instructional practices. A couple of you did mention instructional thing, that's good. But just when you're facilitating this discussion, if you start to notice, like sometimes we'll do this and every response will be a kind of a feel-good thing. All kids deserve teachers who want to be there, and all kids deserve teachers that enjoy being with kids. And if you start to notice that it's all kind of feely kind of stuff, then what you can do is just put the slide up and say, okay, now for the next minute, let's write down, everybody, quietly again, let's write down what does everybody think kids deserve in terms of our expectations. And just take 7 minutes, and one at a time, go back through and then share that again. So we just want to make sure we've got the whole picture of what kids deserve from us, and not just one area of the caring that we have for them. So, okay, so that was really, really good, and thank you for typing in. One other thing I wanted you to see is that I gave you 30 seconds to work to jot down some ideas, and you see how much a response we got with just a 30 seconds to do that thinking in. So it doesn't have to be a long work time, but we think it's really good to just give people quiet time to think about these things. And then the other thing is, normally when I put out this question, nobody does respond in the beginning, and it's very awkward feeling to be the facilitator and nobody responds. And so usually I get uncomfortable as a facilitator after 7 seconds, and I make myself count to 30. So all that quiet time, I was in my head, I was just counting to myself and just praying that somebody would respond. And you can see what happened. I think in that silence might have made some of you feel uncomfortable, and so you finally jumped in to say something. You might have been rescuing me, or maybe you just needed that much time to think and get some ideas out there. And maybe you realized that I wasn't going to let you off the hook. I wasn't going to go on until everybody responded. So the second time I counted for 30, I was ready to give up, but luckily you had all responded, so that was good. So great, great, great. Let's go on to the other questions, but this is kind of how this all works. And there's one more question I'd like you to weigh in on, so kind of get ready. Okay, so I'm going to go back to where we were, and again I'll put that the high elements of high achieving schools. Oops, went too far. Okay, we believe all students deserve, and then I'll put that slide right behind this so you can go to it right away. Okay, the second question is, in an environment where all adults are living by their core convictions. So in other words, if we believe that all kids deserve a rigorous curriculum, if we believe that all kids deserve a second chance, if we believe that all kids deserve to be taught in the way that they learn best, then as ideal adults, what are we doing? So in this exercise, you're describing the ideal adults. And I tell you what, that one, we have 8 minutes left. Let's go ahead and just take a couple on this one. So in your ideal school, based on the core convictions that everybody just tossed out there, what are ideal adults doing? Here's some examples for you. Let's just type into a few. I'm going to count to 30 in my head again, and give you a chance to type in some answers, and then Tina, if you'll share those with us, that would be great. Okay, I'm counting. You've got 30 seconds. 27, 28, 29, 30. Tina, what do we got?
We have encouraging students that do not have confidence.
Okay, good. And
Oh,
see
wow.
see how that one went right with that core conviction? My guess is maybe the same person said both of them. So we think that, you know, all kids deserve to have confidence. So what are we doing as adults? We're encouraging them to have confidence. It's an action on our part. Okay, I'm sorry, Tina, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. Capitalizing on professional learning opportunities, listening, meeting students where they are and walking them to where they need to be,
Cool.
individualized instruction,
There's that
teachers meet,
instruction. Yeah, there's that instruction piece. So good. So we're kind of thinking in all those different areas. Good.
teachers meeting across grade levels,
Cool.
collaboration, no excuses,
Good.
communicating with parents, and differentiated instruction.
Very good. So again, you could put those 7 areas up here again and think about, you know, what are adults doing, ideal adults doing in terms of guidance and instruction and extra help and all of that. So you guys got it. What a bright group. Wonderful. Okay. So third question is in this environment, in an environment where all adults are living by their core convictions. So now picture this. We have these perfect adults in this wonderful environment that are doing all of these things that you just described. Now, what are the ideal kids doing? So there are some examples. I'm going to count to 30 again. This is, I think, kind of fun. Usually when we're doing this face-to-face with people, I always watch and everybody starts smiling on this activity. So we're picturing just the dream students. What are they doing? Okay, I'll count to 30 again. 28, 29, 30. Tina.
Okay, if I can keep up here. Wow. Uh, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way back up. Studying at home,
Cool.
giving teachers permission to teach them, helping each other, not saying I can't,
Good.
accountable for their learning, taking ownership, doing their personal best, asking for help when they need it, reviewing material taught, on task, asking for help, using organizational tools, coming ready to learn,
Wonderful.
asking questions, listening actively, working together to solve problems, and dusting themselves off and re-entering the battle after defeat.
Good. Good.
And one more, accountable for their learning.
They're accountable. Good, good, wonderful. That's perfect. Yeah. So now we have this picture of this ideal school. We know that we're there working from the heart. We know what the adults are doing. We know what the kids are doing. And again, if we were spending more time on this, like you will with your steering team, the answers would be much more specific, especially as you started looking at each of those 7 areas. Now, the last question is this. In your ideal school, what formal assessments exist? So I'm not going to brainstorm those with you, but they would be things like probably the assessments you're giving right now, ISTEP, ECA, NWEA, NAEP assessment, TIMS assessment, whatever you think in your ideal school, the assessments that are needed. And now the second question is, in your dream school, what percentage of students are ideally passing or meeting the benchmark on each of the assessments? So for our little activity here, and I'm going to go pretty fast because I know we don't have a lot of time left, but let's just pretend, if you will, that we are all teachers in a middle school. No, let's make us teachers in an elementary school. And let's say the assessment is 5th grade ISTEP math. in your vision, what percentage of students are passing, if you will, mastering the 5th grade I-STEP math. So all we need you to do is to type in a percentage, and I'm only going to count to 10 on this one because it's only, you're just typing in a couple numbers. Okay, go. What percentage are passing I-STEP math in 5th grade? Okay, Tina, what do we end up with?
And in 95%, vision-wise 100, but reality 90, and 100%.
What was the first one?
95.
Okay. Okay, so that's really similar to what you're going to get when you have the discussion with your steering team. A couple things I want to point out, and this is really important. In a lot of our schools, this ends up to be a huge debate. It's a very healthy debate. And normally what will happen is you're not going to have to do anything. The person that said 100% will turn to the person that said 95% and they'll ask them, why didn't you say 100%? You know, who are the kids in the 5% that you don't have dreams for? I have facilitated this with a couple of schools where I couldn't get the percentage above 85. This was really low achieving schools. And the activity that we did then is we asked the teachers to start writing down the names of the kids and the 15% that they didn't have dreams for. And, you know, I just kidded with them that, you know, we'll just call their parents tomorrow and say, we don't have dreams for your kids. You know, it's hopeless. Don't even send them. You know, so, but then that's really the idea. If you, and me too, I did not go to 100% the first time I did this activity. But if you think about it, if you didn't go to 100%, who are those kids that are in the 5% or the 15% that you couldn't have these dreams for? And then is that okay that you're not having dreams for this group or that group? When we first did this work like 20 years ago, what we heard a lot was we can't go to 100% because we can't have dreams for African American students. What we heard was, you know, they just haven't had the same the opportunities that white kids have had, and we're just going to frustrate those African American kids, and you know, they'll all drop out of school and they'll commit suicide, and you know, just all these horrible things. So thank goodness we're past that point. We've also heard it about special ed kids, and we still hear that a little bit today as well. And sometimes we hear it about low-income kids, you know, that, you know, it's just, we just shouldn't even have dreams for those kids because they just don't have the opportunities, and, you know, we don't have the finances to provide them what they need, so why even have dreams for them? Once in a while we hear it about mobile kids. You know, this kid has been in 18 different schools in 1 year. You know, he's 6 years behind in reading level, and, you know, what do we do? So, but the thing is, if we can't dream it, we'll never reach it. So any kid that we don't have a dream for, we're not going to go after those kids. We're not going to provide the opportunity that those kids need to achieve. So we think it's really important to have dreams for 100%. The other thing I thought it was really interesting that one person said 100% in vision, but some other percent in reality. And that's why it's really important that we've differentiated what's the differences between a vision and a goal. So this is not a goal. We're not worried about reality. I think it's interesting that that person said that, and we have a lot of people do that, by the way. I mean, I'm kind of picking on that person. But we're so uncomfortable with dreaming. As educators, you know, dreaming, I don't know where it went to, but it's hard for us to do. You know, I think sometimes we think if we dream it, then the next step is we're going to be accountable for it. So there's no accountability in this. It's just, you know, what would we love to see happen, and what would we like to start moving toward? When we get to goals, goals are based in reality, and those we do want to be accountable for. But in this dreaming, it's just like, you know, let's climb Mount Everest, let's go to the moon, you know, let's think, what dreams could we have? So one other thing, and then I'll move on real quickly and then we'll close. If for whatever reason you can't get your steering team to go to 100%, or if for whatever reason you are not at 100%, that's okay. We're just kind of giving you things to think about. The worst thing that could be happening is that in your steering team, if everybody says 95% and you are the only one who believes 100%, if you put it into your vision statement and it's 100 when everybody else said 95, nobody's going to trust you anymore. So you really have to come to consensus on this. Everybody has to be comfortable with it, and that means everybody's got to give a little bit. If I personally, who strongly believe in 100%, if I were to be on a council and everybody else was saying 95, I would just acquiesce and say, okay, at least they're not saying 90, and we'd go with the 95. But I keep working on them. I keep saying, what about those kids in the 5%? And, for the rest of time, I would be talking about those kids in the 5%. So anyway, so things to think about in your own self-reflection, as well as when you're having this discussion with your steering team. One other thing is that we think this is a wonderful discussion to have with an entire faculty. It really gets the whole faculty thinking about, why are we here? What are we doing? Is this, it's just about meeting DOE's mandates, or are we really working from the heart still? So think about doing this with the whole faculty as well. Consensus, 2 questions. Once you get your vision all done, then we're looking at, can you live with the items listed, and can you support them publicly? It's okay in your vision statement to write the vision as a narrative. It's also okay to write it as a bulleted list, whatever you think is important there. So in your draft of your vision statement, you're going to come up with these prompts to 4 paragraphs. In our ideal school, we believe that all kids deserve. Here's what the adults are doing. Here's what the kids are doing. And as a result of all this, here's our ideal data. Okay, vision statement. Don't worry about wordsmithing. It's really about the process more than what the product that you come up with. It's okay to combine similar ideas, but if that changes the meaning, somebody's going to think, oh, where did my idea go to? So don't change the meanings. Everybody in your steering team, when they read that vision statement, they should literally be able to take their finger and put their finger on words that they said. So we want to make sure that everybody that participates in this discussion is captured in the vision. Okay, I'm going to go through the online system in 2 seconds and then we'll close. Okay, so here is the online system, and we are down to vision. Oops, I passed it. Oops, that's because I'm in the wrong year. Okay, I'm going to go down to vision, and when you log in, this will all be hot. I logged into the wrong school. But basically, here is the elements of high-achieving schools, so just click on that, and that report will come up. Conduct the steering team discussion. That will take you to the manual. And then on entering your vision statement, let me go. I'm going to go back and show you that real quickly. Let me see here. I'm sorry. Let me just log in as a startup school. I thought I had done that. Okay. I'll log in as Bar Reeves. Go to the school's vision action page. Okay. Okay. So when you go to enter your vision, really simple. We're just giving you text boxes. We believe all students deserve. Just put it in there. You're describing the next box, the adult behaviors, the student behaviors, and then finally the percentage of students who, and then you would write the benchmark in here, pass I-STEP math or in 5th grade. And then just put in the percentage. If you need additional vision fields, vision data fields, just click this and it'll add more in. Okay, and then finally, on the manual page, if you go to the vision part, again, here's elements of high achieving schools, and then here's a couple of samples, and one thing I wanted to show you is how detailed these are and how how much detail there's in these. Okay, so you can see, here's the 4 paragraphs, lots of detail, and sometimes these vision statements might be 3 or 4 pages long. Think of these as a painting. You're describing every aspect of your ideal school. Another activity to do is just to, close your eyes, walk in your building. What's happening as you come in the front door? What's happening in the principal's office? What's happening in the media center? What are the teachers doing? What's happening in the teacher's workroom? You know, you're just kind of describing this whole ideal school. Okay, we went over a little bit. I apologize, but oh my gosh, that discussion was great. Tina, any final questions or any comments from you?
Everybody just keep up the good work. I mean, you've got all of February to get this vision statement just exactly the way you want it. If anybody has any questions about any work that hasn't been done yet, just give me a call at any time. Remember that 5-second rule.
Sounds good. And one last thing, it doesn't have to be just your 5 or just your steering team members, your 8 steering team members, 6 steering team members. It can, you know, feel free to bring in others to do this visioning with you. This is a really powerful activity. So, okay, everybody, sounds good. Thanks for your participation. Thanks for typing in responses. That was fun. And we'll see you next month. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Thanks, everyone.